nephrologist and the medical lead for transplantation at the University Hospital of Coventry and Warwickshire. He completed his nephrology training in the UK and did a renal transplant fellowship at the University of Toronto. He completed his nephrology training in the UK and did a renal transplant fellowship at the University of Toronto. He has completed clinical research and clinical epidemiology training program from Harvard Medical School. He has an interest in clinical epidemiology and clinical research with transplantation. His current research interests include health outcomes-based research, promotion of living donation in ethnic minorities, and live donor outcomes, amongst others. So welcome, Dr. Malik. I'm glad you can join us, especially on a Saturday morning, which I'm sure you could be probably resting after a long week. So first of all, just if you can just explain to the listeners what a nephrologist does.
Sure. So a nephrologist deals with kidney diseases. So the kidney, as many of you might know, does the function of purifying the blood or cleaning the blood and excreting waste products in the urine, among others. So that's the most important function. The other functions that the kidney does are regulate water and electrolyte balance. It also helps in production of some of the hormones, for example, vitamin D, or even in blood production. So those are the major functions of the kidney. And a nephrologist deals with kidney diseases or looks after people with kidney problems.
Okay, so if a patient has kidney failure, what would that mean to the patient? Can you explain what kidney failure is, please?
Sure. So we've sort of moved away a little bit over the years from the term kidney failure, only because a kidney disease, like many other illnesses, happens in stages. And people only get symptoms when it's the very end. It's more of a silent disease, or silent killer, as we call it. So when the kidney stops functioning or loses 90% of its function, that's when people actually start developing symptoms of kidney disease. So we don't call it kidney failure any longer, but instead we call chronic kidney disease. So it happens in stages. There are 5 stages of chronic kidney disease. The most commonest cause worldwide is diabetes. And second is hypertension. And as you know, in our communities, diabetes and hypertension are both very common. And similar to developing heart problems due to diabetes, people actually develop kidney problems. And unless they get tested for kidney disease, they wouldn't actually know whether they have kidney problems or not, because it doesn't really give any symptoms until the kidney loses 90% of its function. It's only towards the very end people actually start developing any symptoms. And the usual symptoms people start developing when the kidney is not working are shortness of breath, swelling in the feet or hands, itching, nausea, vomiting, just feeling very generally unwell and tired, and that they can't function.
Is it more prevalent in a certain age group? Can anyone get it? Is it more with male or female, or it doesn't really matter?
Sure. I think that's a good question. So as different types of kidney diseases are common at different age groups. So it can actually affect anyone right from a newborn child, unfortunately, to people in their 80s and 90s, for example. So although diabetes and hypertension is the most commonest cause, there are other causes such as polycystic kidney disease, where people are either born with cysts because it runs in families, or they develop a mutation in the gene, or your immune system starts affecting the kidney. So those kind of illnesses, conditions that affect the kidney can happen at any age, unfortunately. In teenage, we've seen patients in 20s, 30s, 40s, so it could be at any age.
So within the ethnic minority, what are the statistics for patients awaiting kidney transplant?
Sure. So when we say the kidneys are not working and patients develop what we call chronic kidney disease stage 5, which means, in simple terms, less than 15% of the kidneys are working, people start developing symptoms of kidney disease. It's at that point we actually start talking about options. So the options for anyone with advanced kidney disease would either be going on dialysis treatment to replace the function of the kidneys, so essentially to clean the blood because the kidney is not cleaning the blood any longer, or to have a transplant. Transplant for most people would offer better quality of life. So they wouldn't be tied to a machine. They would have the freedom from dialysis. They can eat and drink and travel and carry on with their lives as normal as possible, and also offer what we call better survival, meaning compared to dialysis, patients will be able to live longer after a transplant. Unfortunately, because diabetes and hypertension is very common in our communities, many of our patients actually end up with kidney disease and end up requiring a transplant. And approximately 25 to 30% of patients waiting on the transplant list are from ethnic minorities.
Which is quite a high amount.
Yes, correct. It is a huge burden compared to the population, which, as you know, is 8 to 10%. 25% of patients on the waiting list are from ethnic minorities, unfortunately.
So can a person survive with just one kidney if they were to become a donor?
100%. And what I always tell my patients is that we don't even know if people who come forward to donate actually have two kidneys, because they may even have been just born with one kidney and be living a normal life. And also, when people come forward to donate, we wouldn't automatically accept them as a donor. They have to go through a rigorous testing process. And it's only when we are convinced that they would be able to live a normal lifespan and also a normal quality of life without any additional risk to their remaining kidney, that's the only time we actually accept the donor to donate. So there's a rigorous independent testing process, and we won't just accept them as a donor until we are convinced that they're going to be okay themselves.
So what factors are needed for a donor to become a match?
Actually, it's only the willingness that is, in fact, that's needed, most importantly. But obviously, they need to be free from any underlying significant health illnesses. So diabetes, we would say no. Hypertension or blood pressure, on the other hand, would be okay as long as it's well controlled and they don't have any ill effects from hypertension. And patients may have, or donors may have other minor illnesses, which we can obviously look into and see whether it's okay to donate or not. They just need to be healthy and willing and of adult age and be able to consent independently. So that's sort of the main requirement.
Okay, so we have Shamshad here, who is a transplant patient. So Shamshad, can you tell us how you were diagnosed with kidney failure, please?
Assalamu alaikum to all your listeners, and thank you very much for inviting me to speak today about my kidney journey and my kidney disease. So I was diagnosed in 1995 totally by chance by re-registering at a GP that I used to be with as a child, and it was discovered through a standard urine test, just a dip.
So no symptoms whatsoever? No
symptoms at all. And at that stage, we subsequently discovered that I was actually walking around with just 15% kidney function. I still didn't have any symptoms with such a low function.
Okay. So after they did the urine sample, what were the further tests that you had to go through before they could give you a proper diagnosis?
I was immediately asked to have blood tests as soon as the results were in. The GP asked me to go to the general hospital, to the renal wards, and the doctors knew I was arriving, and they did ultrasound scans, more blood tests, so on. And that's when they confirmed that, yes, I have significant kidney damage. The kidneys were apparently so shriveled up they couldn't see them on the ultrasound scanner because they wanted a biopsy. of the kidney tissue to see what was going on.
What was going.
Yeah, but they couldn't access the kidney. They were that damaged. And they broke the news that evening to my parents and to my sister. I was 22 at that time, just finished uni, just got engaged. And yeah, they told me everything that evening. You'll need a transplant, you'll need dialysis.
That must have been very hard for not just yourself, but your family as well. How did they cope with that?
Oh, yeah, I think at that time for myself, to be honest, in hindsight, it was a shock, but not a shock in that way. I think I probably didn't process it, and I just kind of saw it as, oh, it's just an illness and there's a treatment and you go on dialysis and everything's fine. And you just go on dialysis.
So from the time you were diagnosed, when did you actually start your dialysis?
So it took about 2 years for my kidney function to drop to just 3%, which is when the doctors decided I really do need dialysis because it was the end of the road otherwise.
So for the listeners, can you just explain what dialysis actually entails?
So first of all, they need to access your blood somehow, and they do that by creating either a super vein in your arm, so you have this big bulging vein. Dr. Malik knows more about the details, but they sew certain things together, certain veins and arteries, and they create a big vein. So you are then linked to a machine using the vein. The blood comes out of your body, the so-called dirty blood, I call it, or the one with the toxins. It filters around a machine which has a fake kidney, an artificial bio kidney on it. And that kidney cleans your blood and gives you back clean blood.
And how long does that take, and how many times do you need, or would you have needed dialysis?
So that depends on the patient's weight and the patient's size, etc., and how their results are looking. But generally, I've spoken to a lot of patients, it's usually 4-hour sessions, 3 times a week.
Okay, so that takes a lot of, of your time
Definitely.
out of your normal life.
Yeah, because it's the transport there, it's the recovery afterwards. You can't just jump off the machine and run home. It's like, you've just been through 10 rounds with Mike Tyson or something. You just feel terrible.
Completely drained.
After, yeah.
Are you on, or were you on medication as well as the dialysis?
Yes, because as Dr. Malik says, the kidney regulates so many things, especially bones. So I have renal bone disease now. I've already had a double hip replacement. My hips went quite a young age. I'm waiting. They say I need a new knee one day. I've got lots of joint problems, and that's always been a battle. So I've been on vitamin D, calcium. You have to take things like phosphate binders. You have to watch your food. Certain minerals you can't eat. Certain things you can't eat.
And your water intake?
Oh yes, because a lot of patients do stop producing urine on renal disease because your kidney is not working anymore in that way. So that fluid that you drink, anything, whether it's a yogurt or a custard or ice cream, it's all fluid. That just builds up in your body. You start bloating, you get high blood pressure, you just feel like someone's sitting on your chest, you can't breathe. So you need that removed in dialysis as well.
After the dialysis, when was your first transplant?
So dialysis started in 1997. My first transplant was 2002.
Okay, and how did that go?
The surgery and so on was very difficult. Obviously, any surgery is super difficult to go through. Recovery was quite slow for me. And that kidney never really took off. I had quite a poorly time with it. And after 5 months, it did fail.
5 months?
Yeah.
That must have been heartbreaking.
Yeah, I suppose you go through a lot and you have big hopes and big dreams and wishes.
Yeah,
you think, you think, oh, things are different for me now, and suddenly they're not anymore.
So you were back on dialysis,
exactly.
I guess, yeah.
Yes.
And then what happened after that?
Well, so I had a period of dialysis. It just went on and on. I never got a call. I was quite sick with other things in between, lots of hospital admissions, etc., etc. And then in the end, we went we tried a transplant ourselves, which sadly didn't work.
Where was the transplant?
It was abroad.
Okay. So I'm just going to
Yes.
go back to Dr. Malik on that. So what advice? I mean, I know Shams went off and got a kidney abroad, but what would your view on that be for patients that are currently on, waiting?
I think, when I hear stories such as Shamsad's, my heart really sinks. I sit in clinic and, when I hear patients suffering and, how they feel on dialysis, I just wish, we had more donors, or I just wish, I could give someone a transplant miraculously to make their lives better. So I can understand and appreciate why patients would want to explore abroad or overseas, because they're just so fed up with dialysis. They just can't have a normal life like many of us. But having said that, I think what's important for people to know and be aware of is that the medical practices in different countries are quite different. In the UK, obviously, we pay a great deal of attention to the donor's health. We make sure that they are worked up fully and that they, are followed up for the rest of their life, because there's a very, very small risk, 0.5 to 1% risk of a donor after donation developing kidney disease, which means 1 in 100 or 1 in 200, one donor might receive. But they get lifelong follow-up. Now, we don't know whether, in overseas or abroad, whether that would happen because of financial constraints. Donors may not have the same kind of follow-up that they get in the UK. And also certain complications and infectious diseases are more common when patients get transplanted overseas. And then when they come back, they come back to hospital with a very unusual infection sometimes. And again, they go through multiple hospital admissions to treat those complications and so forth. I think the solution really is that we just need more donors from ethnic minorities, because our tissue types and blood group is so different.
Yeah.
And it's only if we donate, ethnic minorities donate, we can actually get people off the waiting list. So that's just the only way, I think, or safer way, I would say.
Safer route, yeah. So Shams, when you came back, how were you? How poorly? Because I know we've had this conversation already.
I was very poorly. I just, my parents were totally shocked when they saw me, when they came to pick me up at the airport. I did not look like myself. I was bloated to 3 times the size. I was unrecognizable. They were just pumping me with fluid, I think, hoping that the kidney eventually works. I had to go straight to the general. They were all very kind there, and obviously I got admitted and they looked after me, but sadly, after 2 weeks, that kidney did fail. It was a complete donor mismatch, which should not have happened, really.
So your advice is not to do that?
No, just have sabr. I mean, I have had sabr for a long time, and may Allah keep us going.
But after that, you did have another transplant?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So 3
altogether. I got my last one in 16, so alhamdulillah 6 years now.
And how do you feel since you've had that? No complications?
No, I've sadly I did get COVID in October, even though shielding, I did the whole government advice thing, and I was pretty sick from that, and I've just started to make a recovery. I've managed to get back to work, etc. But no, alhamdulillah, I have ups and downs because I have other problems, as I said now. But no, the kidney's working. It's keeping me off dialysis. That's the key thing.
Yes. So you resort back to your normal working life as well, and just getting on.
Well,
doing the things that you love, yes.
Exactly. I mean, I only work 2 days for a long time now because I'm too tired all the time. But yeah, I can more or less be myself again, yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And I hear today is a special occasion for you.
Oh gosh, is it?
So we want to wish Shams a very, very happy birthday.
Gosh, thank you.
She is a warrior today. Just happened to be her birthday. May Allah put barakah in her day and continue to give her strength on her daily journey. So this is a message from Sabiha, but also from all of us. We just want to wish you a massive happy birthday. May Allah keep you healthy. May your kidneys last you forever. And you have a happy and wonderful life. That's all we can ask for. But I know, your journey has been very traumatic, and after speaking to you, we were just so amazed by the strength and the sabr that you did have, and that is just amazing. You're very, very inspirational, and Allah give you the reward for all the patients that you've gone through, and also to all these fantastic consultants out there, Dr. Malik being one of them, because without you guys, she wouldn't be sat here. So your role is pivotal.
Yes,
what
thank you.
Would you like to say to the listeners?
I would like to say that yes, it is the NHS and Dr. Malik, people like Dr. Malik. We love you so much, honestly, and for looking after us. But I think the key message here is please think about organ donation. It makes such a huge difference. Now, I'm lucky I had 22 years of no dialysis and no sickness. But as Dr. Malik says, sadly, there are children waiting for a transplant. They haven't even started a proper life yet. We need to really make it our responsibility as a community to look after each other and not be selfish and really think about organ donation. Would you want somebody to give you an organ if you ever needed one? Would you think, if your loved one was suffering, would you be wishing, or would you say, that's fine, we don't want to be on the list, we don't want an organ? Nobody ever knows until they're in that boat, but I assure you, you would take a kidney or liver or whatever you need.
Yeah.
So I think, it's reciprocal. You must be able to pay it back, and you must think of others. And I just want to say about the organ donation law, someone asked me to mention that you are automatically now opted in unless you go online or phone up to do otherwise. So look at the website, Organ Donation, NHS UK, and have a look at what that means for you, because it is a real thing.
Yeah, I think on the NHS app as well, you are able to opt out if you wanted to opt out. But
right.
Yes, as you're saying, you are opted in now.
You are.
Yeah, and unless you don't want to, then you have to go in and opt out.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, which obviously is a good thing in my opinion, but people do have their own personal views. Have a look. And if you're not opted, if it's something, and also if you really do want to be a donor, make sure you do tell your family, because at emotional times like that, I know it's very difficult. Your family might just make that last minute decision.
Yeah, and that is very true, because although you may have opted in,
yes,
the last rights are from your parents or whoever your family is.
That's
they have the last say, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're very passionate about it, make sure your close ones, your loved ones, do know that is a wish.
Yeah, Habiba.
It's been really inspirational listening to you, Shamshad. We have had a message from somebody called Basit Ali saying you've been a fighter and the spirit you show is unbelievable. I just want to share something that somebody said to me the other day. When you do have this illness, it's like it was very inspirational when the person said it to me, that like Allah's elevating your status every moment, and you're beloved of Allah. That's how much He loves you. We think, why has it happened to me? But there's a reason. And just a thorn pricking a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins and elevates our status. So to be in that constant illness and pain and worry, how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is elevating you, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Dr. Malik, anything you'd like to say before we end on this topic?
I think just a couple of messages to the listeners. As I said earlier, diabetes and hypertension is so common, and kidney disease doesn't really give any symptoms. So I would urge all listeners to go and get themselves tested. It's a simple blood test and a urine test that's required to test to see if they have kidney disease, because prevention has got to be better than cure, and they can slow down the progression of kidney disease and try and prevent advanced kidney disease or kidney failure if they can get tested earlier on. And and I have to thank Shamshad. I mean, she's a special patient. I remember the day she was transplanted. She had a struggle. So, her looking so well, alhamdulillah, it just gives us the pleasure and the satisfaction that we are actually just looking for. So, just making a difference to people's lives. So, Jazakallah for the invite and Assalamu alaikum.
So thank you for coming on, Shamshad. That was really inspirational.
Thank you.
We really have got our next guest coming on, which is going to be Sister Maryam. She's going to be talking about being a stem cell donor.
Okay, thank you, Shamshad, for coming in. And have a wonderful day today. Please remember us in your du'as, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
Nice thank you so much.
Just want to remind the listeners today that there are some events happening today at Madani School. So first of all, we've got the food drive, where One Roof Leicester will be collecting food donations. So that's tin food, packets of rice, pasta, biscuits, tea, coffee, sugar, oil, things with that are packaged and have a long shelf life. They're collecting these for the food bank. So if you're out shopping today, make sure you buy extra and drop it off at Madani Schools. That's happening between 1 and 6. And at the same time, we've also got a very, very special event happening, which is a drive to become
a stem cell
donor. So we want to get more people from the ethnic minority, especially our communities, to sign up to become stem cell donors.
Yeah. We've actually, Habib and myself have been doing drives for many, many years now, probably over 10 years. And I got involved through Rick Basra, who was doing the stem cell drives for Anthony Nolan. And at that point, I think we're talking about probably 10 years ago, there wasn't enough people, especially youngsters, coming forward from the ethnic minorities. So what happened was they got in touch with us through FMO, and we identified there was an issue, and it was mainly because people were worried about the fact that whether they were allowed to donate their stem cell or not Islamically. So I managed to get 2 fatwas. One was from Sheikh Raza from Conduit Street Mosque, and the other one was from Mufti Muhammad to say it was perfectly okay to do. And as soon as we had the fatwas from DMU to the colleges, the rates of people wanting to donate just went sky high. So it was just brilliant. And then since then, when we've had the food drives, because it's a really good way to get people to listen, and obviously they're coming there to drop food off, but not only are they dropping food off, we managed to then get them to register. But it's a fantastic thing to do, because in fact, for the last 10 years, I've actually often thought about the fact that whether we've had anybody that is a match, and it was just through coincidence, through speaking with Sister Yasmin, who also helps us on the drive and is part of our team, that we came across Sister Maryam. So welcome, Sister Maryam, who did register and is actually a match for a patient. So I was so overwhelmed when I heard that. I think it just brought tears to my eyes to think that all this has paid off, because obviously for saving one person in Islam, it's as though you've saved the whole of mankind. So for people who are wondering, why do we need a stem cell donor, it's for patients with blood cancer, and sometimes this is probably the last resort for them, and it will help this patient because they have to have very, very aggressive chemotherapy, and it's really because that damages the stem cells. So this just rejuvenates the stem cell and puts that patient back on track, and hopefully puts them into remission. So Maryam Amatullah is obviously our next guest, who did sign up. So Maryam, just going back to signing up, what made you sign up?
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, like you said, it was a food drive. It was 2019 when you had the food drive at Madani, and it was Yasmin Surti, sister Yasmin Surti's post on Facebook that I saw. So it was a food drive and also stem cell. She shared something about the stem cells. So I'll just go along. So I didn't think about doing any swabs and stuff. I just went down to the food drive and I saw all these people queuing for the, to give the swabs, register and give, swabs. So I thought, okay, I think I'm sure you were there as well.
Yeah, I was there because what had happened was we'd organised the drive with Kirit from Sahara Group, and Yasmin and Kirit were doing all the paperwork, and I was just trying to force literally everybody to come and join. And we were doing a drive for a young lady called Mina.
Yeah, I remember she was there.
Yeah. And the funny thing was I managed to get 60 people on that day to actually register. And then the following day they'd gone to the race course, which was actually for it, and they'd only managed to get 20. So I was so proud that, people from our community were stopping to listen. And obviously you were one of them.
Good, yeah. So that's what happened. So I registered, gave my swabs. I just remember doing the swabs really hard that my cheeks were sore for a good week. But and that was it. And I think when you do something like this, you don't think your name's going to be pulled out the hat.
Yeah.
So
Alhamdulillah.
So that was 2019, and during the lockdown, I got this phone call from DKMS saying I was a potential match for a patient. So that was a bit. It was a bit overwhelming at the time, but it wasn't confirmed match, it was a potential match. So I had to go and give some blood tests, and they talked me through it just in case it was confirmed. But a couple of months on, I didn't hear anything, and then when they spoke to me, it's like it had just fallen through, so I've just dismissed it and left it. So it was only last year, it was after my 50th, the day after my 50th birthday.
MashaAllah.
I got this phone.
You don't look 50.
Oh yeah, I feel it. So I got this phone call to say I was a confirmed match, and that just triggered off anxiety, like, because all different emotions run through you. The thing that you think about is, okay, this has happened, and this person's life, Allah's given you this opportunity
to help.
Yeah, are you going to say no, or are you going to say yes?
Yeah.
So I was like, I got myself in a bit of a tears, and I spoke to my husband, my husband's attitude just like, just get on with it. So okay, I just took it from there, and I can't disclose so much information.
No,
there's
obviously
a lot of
patient confidentiality.
Yeah. So there's certain things that I can't share because we'll go into that. But yeah, so that's what happened, and so like I said, it triggered off some emotions. It's my age as well.
So just going back to if you do want to register, just to let you know that what they would do, well, you have to agree to donate your blood, and what happens is it's like a dialysis machine. So the blood goes in one tube, goes through a machine. They take out your stem cell, which replenishes within 24 hours, and 90% of the donors will give just the blood as a transplant. It's only 10% that would need the marrow, and that would be not because before they used to do the lumbar puncture and that they don't do that anymore, and it's more of the I think through the pelvis.
I think that's what happened with, because I've read so much about it.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking I'm going to be one of those people. It's going to come out the groin, it's going to come out the hip, it's going to be out of my spine. I'm going to suffer. It's going to be discomfort. So I worked myself up quite badly, but then I just had to stay calm and just follow the advice. But like you said, what it is that once you get hooked up on the machine, you have 2 needles in. So one, so that goes. It's all periphery. So 90%, like you mentioned, is periphery. It's not. It'll just come out of your arm into the blood separator machine, which separates the stem cells from the plasma.
Yeah.
And then the blood will go. That machine, which is marvelous because I was just watching it. And then the blood goes. So they collect the stem cells, and the blood just goes back in the other arm.
Yeah. So they only take out what they need. It's not that they're going to take loads of blood out of you, and you're not going to be able to function after that.
And the other thing I should mention is so 4 days leading up to the donation, you have like daily injections, and those injections generate more stem cells, which release them into the bloodstream, which it makes it easier for them to when it comes to actually taking the stem cells. So you do have those. There is a bit of discomfort around that, but that's, it's nothing that's unbearable. You can bear it. It's just not,
I mean, for me, I feel then you're very blessed to be able to be put in that position, to be able to do what you're doing.
Alhamdulillah.
It's an opportunity that's very rare, but obviously you've been chosen for that.
Absolutely. It's when it came along, I recognised it. Because I'd been making dua at the time. I wanted to do something, but I haven't got time to go outside as much because I work and I've got a family. But Allah brought it to my doorstep, and I still recognised it straight away. But then it was a big test that you're going to do it. You're not going to do it.
Yeah, because you're put in that situation where now you're going to feel guilty if you don't.
Yeah. And also, like you mentioned, like I've written like a verse from the Quran: "Whosoever kills an innocent human being, it shall be as if he has killed all mankind. And whosoever saves the life of one, it shall be as if he saved the life of all mankind."
Yeah.
So I think
that reward, imagine the reward that you'll get, inshallah.
And you just hope, I think you just got to keep your intentions pure, that you are doing this for Allah. It's not a personal gain. It's not self-gratification.
No.
I was reluctant to come on the radio, but, I've come along because it's important to try and encourage other people to sign up, because what they say is that people go and register, but if they're called up, they don't go.
Yeah.
They just back out.
They don't see it through.
And I can understand that, because I was in that position where I was feeling anxious about it.
Yeah.
But the DKMS and the medical doctors, they speak you through the whole thing.
So they were very supportive.
Yeah, and you go through a medical, so it's like a few hours of a medical examination. You have your heart checked and everything. And you're asked at every stage, are you still happy to go? Everything's explained, and they're so supportive. And at the end of the day, you think about, we're not going through what the patient is going through, even to give them 5 years, extra to spend with their families. And all I can disclose is the person that I'm donating to is a young male, and we are a completely rare match.
Wow, mashallah.
The doctor says that it's an actual precious match, number one, also because of my age. And also they asked me whether this person was really, it's so closely matched our DNA, that whether this is a relative. So to find out, ask my family, do you know, is there anybody, but we don't know who we don't know.
Okay, mashallah, that's brilliant. The age range for people to register is 17 to 55, which is brilliant. So I will be collaring those people that are attending the food drive this afternoon, inshallah.
Please do pop by.
Yeah, you'll see us there anyway. So please come over. Even if you just want to come and talk to us about it and get some information, there's a criteria list as to who can and can't. It will be great just to come and, get you to just talk about listen to what we've got to say. I
think about it from the recipient side as well, just like how Sister Shamshad said, if the tables were turned and we were in that position where we needed a donor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring that up. So listening to Shams, that was, Allah bless her and everybody who's going through those kind of hardships, because if that was our family member or loved one, what would you do? If you're desperately seeking somebody. And having said that, I do know a friend in London, and their granddaughter died from not being able to find a blood stem cell donor. This was a few years ago. And since there's some friends here in Leicester that I work with, and they know somebody as well, lost 2 children.
Yeah, I think I know the lady that you're talking about. And the funny thing is, she actually came to a couple of the events, but I think she'd come there to donate food. And she was so overwhelmed when she saw us there, and she said, I'm so happy that this is actually happening within our community now, because if that was the case when my kids, I think both children had passed away, if that was the case then, my children potentially might have been here.
Yeah, and you do think of it like that it could be somebody really close to us, it could be us.
Yeah.
And if people are not signing up, and the more people sign up, there will be matches for people within our community.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. So it is really important for more people to come forward, and if they want to see the statements from Mufti Muhammad or Sheikh Raza, they can ask me. I can get that to you. It's not a problem. With DKMS, the age range is much bigger. Also, there's not too many restrictions, and also it's not. I think with the Anthony Nolan one, you have to spit, but this one you're just using swabs and you're rubbing into your cheek. You're not doing it at the back of your throat, so don't worry about that.
And and there's no fear your fast won't be broken or anything.
Yeah, your fast.
And I don't know how you did it, Maryam. That your cheeks
I
were
did
sore.
Yeah, just don't do it so hard, because honestly, my cheeks were sore for a good week.
No,
and I was like,
I'll reassure the listeners. I've done it as well, and it was nothing like that.
I mean, we had a refresher training a couple of days ago, and the lady from DKMS was saying that some people do it that hard that they actually bleed. So
don't bleed.
No, don't go crazy. But alhamdulillah, it's just such a pleasure to have you on, and also Shams as well. I mean, both really inspirational. Obviously, you can see it from her perspective, what she's been through, and having 3 donors, mashallah, whereas you're that lifeline now, inshallah, for this patient.
Yeah. And I think we also got to remember that the patient is going, as much as that, okay, you're donating your blood stem cells, the patient is going through, like you said, aggressive chemotherapy, and they don't know if this is going to work for them. Their body could potentially reject my stem cells.
Yeah.
And, and so there's all that's going on with them. It's very difficult for them. And what we're going through is nothing compared to what they're going through.
Yeah. So we're going to be at Mudney from 2:00 onwards. Myself, hopefully Sister Habiba,
I will be,
and
inshallah.
also Kirit. I think Kirit's been on talking about organ transplant on the radio anyway, but if anybody wants to come and talk to him as well, that would be brilliant. But please do pop in and speak to us. And I know you're bringing in food, but it's your blood that we're after, not just your food.
I mean, really do want our 17 and 18-year-olds to come and sign up, because I think as we get older, there's potentially, we're developing illnesses. I mean, I myself signed up years ago when we did our first one in 2016. But I've now developed an illness, so because of that medication, I wouldn't qualify to donate my stem cells anymore. So we do need a lot of those young people, especially.
Absolutely.
Because if you're fit and healthy, you stay on the register till you're about 60. And obviously, if you were a match at that age, they would check you out thoroughly to make sure that you are eligible to donate.
And also, young people regenerate the cells quite quick, a lot more quicker than.
And as I said, I mean, you regenerate within 24 hours anyway. Looks like we're coming towards the end of our time. Any final messages?
Jazakallah khair for the opportunity.
No, it's
and
really
I
good
really
to
would
talk to
encourage everybody to sign up.
Yeah, inshallah.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah, and keep us posted with what happens. And good luck to you as well. And also, inshallah, the person that is the recipient, may Allah give them a long life, and through your donation, inshallah, help them along so they can live a better quality of life, which is what we all strive for.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah for coming.
Yeah.
And so just a final shout out, I think, for everybody to come down and support the food drive, even if it is, like you just bring a couple of things. If everybody brings a couple of things, that's, that'll be enough to help. I mean, there's lots of people out there struggling. So please do support, and at the same time, come down and register to become a stem cell donor as well.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Okay, so Assalamu alaikum to everybody, and hope you enjoyed the show, and inshallah we'll see you later.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.